G'day everyone, and welcome back to another live stream here at the Australian Reptile Park. My name's Dan, and I'm going to introduce you to my big beautiful lizard Kraken in a couple of seconds. Obviously a lot going on in the world right now. We're thinking of all you guys at home, so we thought we'd show you some of our favourite animals whilst we're closed. So this is Kraken. He's our large male Komodo dragon. We do have two Komodo dragons that call the park home. Kraken's our male. Our female, her name is Daenerys. So she's substantially smaller than Kraken. Kraken's weighs around 45 kilograms and is about 2.2 meters long. Daenerys is much smaller. She's just over 2 meters long and weighs about 23 kilograms. So every single day, I've got to pick him up for a second. Oh. Every single day here at the Reptile Park, we take our Komodos out on a daily enrichment walk, which enables the Komodos not only to exercise, but also to get out and about, get all the different sights and smells. And the walk usually goes for about an hour every single day. And it's really important, out in the wild, Komodo dragons, particularly the males, will travel fairly long distances in a day. So the way we kind of replicate that is allowing them to have the park to themselves, just like we're doing now. Now, I've also set up a little bit of food for Kraken as well. So what you'll see, you'll kind of follow the behaviour. He'll be sticking out his forked tongue every few seconds. That's definitely their most advanced, like chemosensory kind of skill. He's picking up the scents every time he flicks out that tongue, and he'll be able to track down that food, no doubt. I've set it in a bit of a trail, so hopefully he'll find the first bit and then make his way down throughout and grabbing the rest. It's not usually how we'd feed the Komodos. Typically with our big lizards, we'll give them carcass feeds, so really large food items, whether we'll let them eat, sometimes for him, over 15 kilos worth of food in one sitting. He'll have one big feed, and then he'll probably won't feed for a couple of weeks at a time. So it really is cool to watch. And the best thing about a carcass feed for a Komodo dragon, they get to use their really strong neck muscles and keep them nice and strong as well. So if you watch the behaviour, he'll stick out his forked tongue every few seconds, and that's what we said before. Whilst they do have pretty good eyesight and good hearing as well, it's definitely that tongue right now that he's relying on. I reckon he's already picked up on an idea that something's going on here, and I know that because when we were setting up the food before, Jake, who's my assistant keeper on today, the first bit of food he placed right there, and I actually asked him to move it down a little bit further. So Kraken's actually picking up on the scent of the food that we moved about 2.5 to maybe 3.5 meters down this way, and he will pick up on that in no time at all. Now, Komodo dragons, we're very lucky to have them here at the park. They've been here for over 9.5 years, and they're probably one of the most enigmatic species on the planet. Now, they're not native to Australia. They are from the Lesser Sunda Islands in Indonesia, and of course the most famous island that they're found on is Komodo Island itself. Now, Komodo Island has a pretty healthy population of Komodo dragons, which is great. And a lot of people, when they see Kraken, they can't believe how big he is, because he is a very, very big lizard. There's no doubt about it. But as I said, he weighs around 45 kilograms. Komodo dragons can reach weights of approximately 100 kilos. So you could imagine a lizard twice as heavy as Kraken, only a little bit longer. That is one very, very big lizard. Now, he stumbled across his first bit of food. Oh, he's got a little bit excited there. He's going to pick it up. He's flicking it a little bit with his tongue. You can actually see a little bit of saliva dropping down, and now he'll be able to throw that piece back. How cool is that? Not every day, well, I get to do it every day, but not every day you get the opportunity to see a Komodo dragon feed up nice and close. And what's really cool about this behaviour right now is you've got a lizard that is potentially quite dangerous, of course. They do have extremely sharp teeth, and we all know that. But our cameraman and the keepers, we're all quite close, and Kraken's not disturbed by us at all. In fact, he's just happily moseying along, looking for the next bit of food, which he's about to find. He's actually really picked up on what's happening now, and no doubt he's going to enjoy this next feed. Now, we haven't fed him very much today, to be honest, but also too, what's good about this is he's actually working a little bit for the food that he will be consuming on this walk. So I've only really fed him about a kilo worth of food. As I said before, generally we'll feed him much larger amounts of food in each feed. And that's the same for the female as well. We don't feed her just as much as we feed Kraken, but that's because she's substantially smaller than he is. Now, they do have really sharp teeth. Now, their teeth are quite large, particularly Kraken's, and he does have the potential to cause serious harm if you were bitten by a Komodo dragon. But thankfully, because we've been over years built such a great relationship with these lizards, we can work quite closely with them. And as long as we watch their behaviour, there's really not that much to worry about, as long as we're on top of our game and we're constantly reading their behaviour. Komodos will do a few things that might signal that potentially they're a little bit, I guess they want us to back off. They might start puffing out their throat. They'll even start to bend their tail. They can become quite vocal, and then we would know to step back. But thankfully, because we've been able to put so much time into these lizards, you can see how relaxed they are with us being around, even when it's feeding time. Now, I can't remember how many bits of food we put out, but I think we put out about 6 or 7. So he's doing a really good job at finding the food, and then of course, his favourite part, which is eating the food. Now, I did mention before, he weighs about 45 kilograms and he's 10 years old. So we know he's still got quite a bit of growing to do, and he'll continue to grow, particularly over the next 5 or 6 years. When he's around 15 years of age, he'll probably weigh around 60 to 65 kilos. He'll never reach a weight of 100 like some wild Komodos do, but he's still a really, really, really big lizard. We've tried to keep Kraken really nice and fit, muscular and lean. Really important to keep them like that so they don't run into some of the health issues we have seen with Komodo dragons in captivity. Here we go, we've got a bit more food, and you can really see that tongue working overtime. And then when they get closer, of course, they do rely more so on their eyesight. But that is just one of the coolest things to watch. I could do this all day. This is the best thing ever. And I also think too, like he's eating, I can go over there and give him a nice little pat on the back, and he's not worried about me one bit. Thankfully, he must prefer the food that he's eating rather than the attention that I'm giving to him. Straight down the hatch. Now I've got a couple more bits over to the side there, and then we'll pretty much just go about on our walk and forget about the food for a while. No doubt he'll probably back up and try and find if there is any more. And typically we don't feed Kraken outside of his exhibit. Generally we always feed them inside. But for you guys today, I thought I'd do something a little bit different. We struggle with a bit of internet reception inside the Komodo dragon lair, so we brought him outside and fed him out here instead. All right, last couple of bits of food, which is great. You'll eat these last 3, and then we can get about our walk. As I said, the feeding part's very different to how we usually walk them. But we do walk the Komodos every single day, particularly on really warm days. We'll be out for extended periods, and you can see how much the Komodos really like it. In particular, Kraken, and I guess because males, they do explore more in the wild than their female counterparts. And in particular with Kraken, he'll climb anything he can. He'll go all the way up to the kiosk sometimes if he wants to. He really enjoys this time. He even likes walking to the other side of the park and having a little encounter face to face with the Galapagos tortoise. Now the tortoises don't like it too much, but he simply strolls right past them. And we're even able to do this out here with things like kangaroos, ducks walking around. But the Komodos just don't associate them with food. They're so well trained in terms of their behaviour that really, unless we take food inside of their exhibit, they rarely go into food mode. But in saying that, you always do need to be aware as well. Now, Komodo dragons, they're incredible animals, there's no doubt about it. And here in Australia, we do have some pretty large monitor species, there's no doubt. The parenti is one of our largest. The lace monitor, which is one of the closest living relatives to the Komodo dragon. We've also got yellow spotted monitors or sand monitors. So we're very lucky in Australia to have some pretty large monitor species ourselves. We have over 30 monitor species in total. So Australia really is the land of the monitor. And a lot of people get confused between the name monitor or goanna or maybe even dragon like we call the Komodos. But they are all monitors, so your lace monitor is a type of goanna. I guess your Komodo dragon is as well, but we just refer to our monitor species here in Australia as goanna. Now we did have some pretty big monitor species here in Australia once upon a time. Megalania prisca would have been larger than a Komodo dragon. So you could imagine a few thousand years ago walking around the northern parts of Australia and bumping into a big giant lizard almost 1.5 times larger than a Komodo dragon. And obviously at that time they would have been predating on the other megafauna that we found here in Australia, animals like Diprotodon, which is really cool. But Australia really is the land of the monitor. And depending where you are in Australia, you can encounter some really, really cool species. Our largest, parenti, as I said, like 2 metres long. Our smallest is a little Dampier Peninsula monitor from Western Australia, which gets to about 20 to 23 centimetres. All right, this is another thing he likes to do. He loves to scratch away, taking off any dead skin. Maybe in the wild they'd remove any parasites. But I think now we're going to wrap it up and maybe head to a few questions. If you do have any questions coming through, I hope you enjoyed that. It's how cool is watching a Komodo dragon eat. I'm excited. Caitlin on the camera's loving it. This is great fun.
So Dan, do Komodos have any teeth?
Yeah, lots of teeth. It would have been really hard to see, and that's because the sheath the skin kind of covers the teeth, but he has massive teeth. It's kind of hard for me to show you really without having one in my, unless I do have one in my pocket. Let me check. I do. What is the chances of that? Hang on a second. Let me just find this tooth. Keep it going there for me, Caitlin. If you can bring the camera in here. So that's not a massive tooth, but that is one of Daenerys, the female Komodo's largest teeth. So Kraken's teeth are even larger than that. And the cool thing about the teeth, they're actually serrated along the back, so they are quite sharp and obviously designed to slice through flesh. But who would have thought? Managed to have a Komodo tooth in me pocket for you guys.
So what's the biggest kind of food that they would eat?
Anything up to the size of a water buffalo. So deer, goat, water buffalo, but they'll really feed on anything that's meat, and they're even anything that's made of meat. And they're even cannibalistic too, so they will even feed on other Komodo dragons, particularly large ones on smaller ones.
How many babies can they have?
Yeah, really cool question, really interesting. So all monitor species lay eggs, and a female Komodo dragon can lay over 40 eggs once in a year. So that's quite incredible. Obviously a lot of work. The females put intense amount of work into their reproductive cycle. Not only do they have to dig nests, but they've also got to use the calcium from their own body into the development of the young in terms of forming an egg. There's no real maternal and paternal care after that. So once the female does lay the eggs, obviously she goes on about her business, and it's up to the babies then to hatch and look after themselves. But yeah, imagine 40 little Komodo dragons hatching out of a nest. How cool would that be?
Why do they have such long tongues?
Really long tongues, obviously because they're trying to pick up as much different scents as possible. And you'll see the different way they use their tongue at times. Sometimes they'll extend it out the full length, but when they get really close to, I guess, the scent trail that they're following, they'll start to shorten that tongue quite a bit and picking up scent a little bit closer. Any other questions for me?
Yeah, is it true that they have poisonous venom?
Yeah, so about quite a while ago now, a bit of research was done on Komodo dragons in terms of them having venom. And if you look at their relationships with other true venomous lizards, like your Gila monster or bearded lizards, and the best way to talk about a Komodo dragon's venom is in 4 main properties, but 2 that are really important. When they bite down, they do induce a little bit of shock or stress, but also too, they stop the ability for the blood to clot. Now, if you're a Komodo dragon that's bitten an animal and caused a really large wound, what will enable that animal to succumb much quicker is rapid blood loss. So you could imagine they bite an animal, the blood doesn't clot, they bleed profusely, they're going to weaken, and that's going to allow the Komodo dragon to grab its food, which is, it sounds really brutal, but it's what's enabled them to thrive in what can be an extremely harsh environment. Another good thing that's very much on the Komodo dragon side is the fact they don't have to eat that often. So, and they're carrion feeders as well. So they're quite happy to come across an animal that's already deceased and feed on that. But he doesn't have to eat anywhere near as much of a dog would of the same size. And that, I guess, is the advantage of being an ectothermic creature, a reptile, as opposed to being a mammal, particularly if you're a predator.
All right, one last question. Can they swim?
They can. They're a little bit lazy when it comes to swimming. The males will move around, but typically they don't really go to the water that often. They can swim from island to island, but there was a bit of research done on the movement patterns of Komodo dragons in the last few years, and it kind of stated that they are lazy when it comes to swimming. I've been lucky to take Kraken out for a quick swim out the back once, and he didn't really love the water that much. He much preferred just sticking to the land. So they can swim, and some monitor species, like if you look up something like a Merton's water monitor, they're like I guess you'd say a semi-aquatic monitor species from the northern parts of Australia. Their tail is even paddle shaped, which enables them to swim even better than something like a Komodo dragon. So they're perfectly adapted for life in the water. And Merton's water monitors are one of the coolest species we have in Australia. I'm trying to keep up with him and walking backwards, trying to watch his head to make sure he's going the right way, talk to you guys, and keep up as well. I'm starting to get a bit of a puff going.
All right, we'll wrap it up there, Dan.
Yeah. wrapping up. All right, guys. Well, I really do hope you enjoyed that. We're going to be doing live streams every day this week at 2 p.m, so make sure you tune in. I know a lot of people are struggling. We are thinking of you, and if we can make your days a little bit better with these educational videos, then hey, I'm glad we can. Also, too, if you visit our website, reptilepark.com.au, we've got a great initiative. It's like a pay it forward program for people with Discover vouchers. You can pay forward your Discover voucher using that and donating it to charity. So just head to the website and find out a little bit more about it. We've got plenty more live streams, as I said, coming up. I hope you continue to tune in. Thanks so much, and honestly, I just can't wait to see you all back here at the Reptile Park. I'm sure Kraken will be very happy as well. Thanks, guys.